As soon as I saw Conduit, I got very, very excited. It looked awesome in the way that it channels different classes in and of itself. Kind of like Dervish, but a little bit different at the same time. And at the start of the actual stream, whenever I saw it, I did like the design. Maybe a little bit underwhelming, a little bit not too powerful, but I was okay with it. But looking at it again now, a few days past, I feel like it's really missing something. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it doesn't seem to have enough to make a special spot inside of Revenant. It feels like every one of the heavies are actually a little bit underwhelming in terms of power and design. I'm looking at you, Luminary. So let's go through all the traits and have a good idea of how this Conduit spec works so we can get a better idea on how powerful and fun it'll be. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Go to my Ko-Fi if you want to support my content. Go to my Twitch to watch me live every morning, and let's get into it. As always, let's start with the profession skill. There we go. The way that this profession skill works is that you have an F2, just like you usually have in Revenant, and this will give you a very particular effect depending on the legend you have at the moment. Pretty simple stuff. The difference is that now you have affinity, those little two, well, I guess 3 lines on the bottom above the actual legends. And whenever you use an utility, you will start getting more affinity. And you will spend it on your F2, making your F2 last longer. The effect that you're getting last longer. So pretty simple thing here. You know, you use your utilities, you get more affinity, you use your F2 so it lasts longer, and you get some certain type of buff. Now, what are these buffs? First one, you have the one from the Dervish, from the new legend. You get every one of the stats in the game, all of them, for 4 seconds. Of course, with affinity, you'll get more seconds of this, right? And for this particular ability, when you press it, you'll get a specific little scythe coming out and doing some damage as well, which is kind of nice. A cool little ability there. The next one is Cosmic Wisdom Mesmer for Melex, and you'll get yourself some bonus condition damage and expertise. Makes sense for Melex, you know, it's a Conduit legend. You wanna go at Conduit damage. You'll also be doing some bleeding, some torment, and some confusion to your enemies whenever you strike them. So it's a little bit of a buff overall. And you're gonna see this overall, there's gonna be some sort of buff while also giving you some attributes up depending on the type of legend you have, right? The effect on it, it's not super strong. You're gonna get a little bit infused, I guess, with the legend, but that's about it. For Bentari, you get yourself a little bit more healing power and some vitality, and you will heal yourself whenever you strike an ally, an enemy, not an ally. That makes no sense. For Shiro, you'll get yourself more power, more ferocity, and your strikes will give some cripple, some weakness, some vulnerability. For Warrior, for Jadis, you'll get yourself some toughness and some concentration, and whenever you strike something, you'll get yourself resistance, protection, and resolution. Also, you'll get some toughness and concentration. Oh, wait, I already said that. Toughness and concentration. There you go. That's nice. Now, of course, the point is that you want to have these buffs at all times, depending on the type of build you're going for, because you want to apply whatever buff you have, right? You want to, if you're Malex, you want to be using your condition damage. You want to have that buff to do more damage. If you're Power, you want to use Assassin in order to have your power and ferocity. If you're Warrior, I guess you want that concentration to give more boons. And maybe you get stability for longer, you know, or all these other boons, resistance, protection, resolution that you're applying, right? If you're Monk, if you're Bentari, you want to heal your allies, so you're gonna get that buff. The problem, I think, is that it's a little bit unimpactful. All right, yeah, sure, you get some attributes, right? But it doesn't really change anything. What is getting more attributes even mean? Like, these attributes will be applied to the damage you do in this build, and that will balance around it. So, I mean, I guess it makes it so you press your F2 all the time, but I don't know. I feel like that's what Rev usually does. You do your F2 on, and you have your F2 and F3 and F4 on Renegade. You have your F2 in Vindicator. You have your F2 in Herald. It doesn't really change anything that Revenant already does, right? Now, let's go for the utility skills. We might have something different here. And this is where things get a little bit more interesting. So what these utilities do is that each of them are tied to one of your stances, to one of your legendary stances, right? So one is going to be to Ventari, one to Assassin, one to Dwarf, one for Demon. And they'll do something else on top of what they usually do, right? So that's nice. That becomes a little bit more interesting, right? Now, Shielding Hands is your heal, obviously with Monk, with a center stance, and it will give you some heals with a little pulse. While channeling, you take Reduce Strike and condition damage, right? And if you're equipped with Ventari, you will also heal your allies instead of just yourself. Now, this is an interesting effect, right? Because, yeah, if you go Ventari, you're probably thinking about this in a, hey, I want to heal my allies, I want to be a support. So yeah, it makes sense that normally it is an ability that you only use for yourself, and maybe it's very strong on yourself, but then when you take Ventari, it becomes for everyone else. I think that's actually a very cool idea, pretty cool design. Now, I do think it's a little bit underwhelming, I think, because hey, maybe that damage reduction could be for your allies too if you're Ventari, right? You give it even more. Hey, not only you're getting more damage reduction to yourself, but also it's about your allies, right? It is a legend you take for your allies, so make it work for your allies too. The next one is Beguiling Haze, and this one is gonna be like very assassin-like, right? You're gonna teleport to your enemy. Raza is gonna jump out, it's gonna hit him, and then you're gonna teleport to them. Obviously, this works well with the assassin stance. This is how you're gonna end up empowering this ability. And what it does is that you shadow step to an enemy normally, you deal some damage, you daze them, and if it hits, you can use it 2 more times with no energy cost or casting time. So that's very, very useful, especially for something like PvP or Warriors World. Now, the Resonance, if you are indeed on Assassin Stance as well, this will become a ground target AoE. So it will be an AoE damage, AoE daze, and you'll be able to teleport wherever you want instead of actually needing a target, which can be very, 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 very useful. I definitely can see this being applied in PvP, right? Other than that, in PvE, maybe not so useful. It's just gonna be in order for you to teleport around, which is nice. It is definitely nice, but eh. The next one is Gladiator Defense. You stun break and you damage and weaken your enemies close to you. Gain boons if the skill strikes at least one enemy. Remove additional energy if the skill was used to stun break. So this is again the same mechanic we talked about before in other specs, where you use more energy if you stun break on an ability that does more than just stun break, which I think it's good design, so you can actually use it without getting as much energy if you don't stun break. I feel like they could maybe even remove change the way that is worded, so it makes it more feel like you're gaining something by using it whenever you're not stun break, because I feel like people will make it, they will feel like they're getting mean by stun breaking, but stun breaking is just so useful. It's very good design, guys. It is very good. And if you're in Legendary Dwarf stance, the additional energy cost for stun and break is reduced, and the boons are also granted to allies in radius around you. Now, it only gives a resistance and resolution. It applies weakness. I don't really see this as very powerful. I don't really see any reason to go for Dwarf stance to get this, right? Like, it doesn't even give stability. And the only way that you get these boons to your allies is by going to Dwarf? I don't know. It's just not strong enough. And like, do I really care that much about the stun break energy? Like, I just find this utility very, very lackluster. I don't know. The animation is just a yell. I just, Like, look at some utility that you have on Vindicator, right? Like damage, burning, quickness, base fury, AoE, and you get endurance as well. And the boons increase per target stock. And you don't need any sort of condition here. And the version for Corsac, right? You heal conditions, you regen, you condi, condition removed, endurance per ally. Like, it is so much. And then you have this low. Maybe you give boons to everyone else, maybe not. I don't know. like what the fuck? I don't know. It just doesn't seem strong. Next one is for Malix. Remove conditions on yourself, then 5 projectiles, then inflict conditions at random enemies within your radius, based on the number of conditions removed. So this is a kind of a good effect. Remove conditions, do conditions, makes sense for Malix. You do require to have conditions on yourself for this to work, though. Otherwise, it's gonna be like a little bit like, eh. If you have Legendary Demon stance, though, the maximum number of projectiles is always fired regardless of conditions removed. Now that I think is actually very good. You don't really care that much about the projectiles in a normal situation, but if you go with Malix, this will be part of your rotation. You'll remove the conditions, but also you will be applying the damage at all times. This actually, I think it's a good designed utility. It does 2 things. It makes sense when you change them. I like it. I think it's fine. I like it. The animation also looks way better whenever you have multiple projectiles instead of just one. And for the ulti, the elite ability, now this one is a big one, as you can see, because every one of the legends will have a different effect on this ability. You can see it played right there. It's a huge circle, and it'll have a little of an end animation depending on the actual legend you have. I really like that it plays on yourself and also on the on Raza, right? And does a little scythe attack. It's a pretty cool looking ability, I'm not gonna lie. Now let's go in there and read what it says. Normal, spawn a fragment of Raza at your target location. Both you and the fragment attack with a scythe, damaging and inflicting conditions on foes at your location. Gain might for each enemy struck. Does damage, does condis, gain might. Boom. You'll be doing some bleeding particularly. Now for Assassin Stance, you'll be doing 50% more damage and immobilizing your enemies, but only if you and the fragment, you and Raza, hit it at the same time. Otherwise, it doesn't seem like it immobilizes it. You'll also be applying more conditions if you indeed both do it. That's actually kind of a cool effect. You want to play it as, hey, I want to hit it with me and the thing, you know, like both at the same time, both in the same spot. Interesting one. You probably want to do this anyways because it's double hitbox, right? Maybe there's gonna be a different, you know, let's go through the next ones to see what's the differences, right? Maybe there's gonna be a different type of gameplay here. Demon Stance, Malix, you and the fragment shatter after the initial attack, dealing additional damage and confusion to enemies. So this one you can actually use it as a range attack, of course, and you don't need to be hitting the same target to get the bonus, right? Well, that's nice. One can go and apply the damage to one target, you yourself to another one. Cool. Legendary Center Stance. Heal allies in range of you and the fragment. For each enemy struck, remove conditions from yourself. Pretty simple. Healing one makes sense. Legendary Dwarf Stance. You gain boons when this skill begins casting. Enemies struck by both you and the fragment are additionally stunned. Okay, so you apply a stun if you both attack it, and you also give, boom, stability, resistance, and resolution to yourself. Kind of weird that you don't give those boons to everyone else. I feel like they should be for everyone else. I don't know why. I don't know why it would only be for you. It's a little bit of a useless ability, honestly. Oh, it does some, it does some damage. It does some damage and it stuns. I don't know. This whole utilities, guys, it feels that they're like lackluster. They're just not doing enough. Like they're like so close to being okay, and they're just And honestly, guys, I just feel like when I saw the whole Rasa thing, I was like, oh, Pog, we're gonna, depending on the legend we get, every one of the utilities will have a different thing to do, right? Now, I didn't want something like this, like every ability has this tooltip, of course not, right? But you can make it so every one of them has a little bit effect, a different effect, depending on the legend, right? Maybe with legendary assassin, you get a little bit of life steal. Maybe Condi, you do more stun. Maybe with dwarf, you give stability with every one of your utilities. I don't know, something more. It just feels like it's missing something to make it fun and interesting and different. To be everything is about the utility, right? You want to use your utility to get your F2. So make the utilities interesting, make them different. Make your other legends utility different. Maybe by going Rasa, the rest of your utility gets something else in your other legend that is only applied on this spec. Something that would be super, super cool, and it just doesn't have it right now. Now let's go for the traits. Here we have Bolster Bonds, Minor Trait, the ones you always get regardless of what you pick. It'll give you some attributes, some different attributes depending on the legend that you have. Now this will be applied at all times. It's unequipped, not on the one they're using right now. Now, you know, I don't think it's a bad effect. I think it's fine. I just personally, I'm not really that much fan of the whole like attribute thing. It feels like every one of these specs have it because, I don't know, they feel like they need to give them something special. But at the end of the day, if you're going Condi Malix, Conduit, this is going to be part of your damage, right? This is going to be part of your minimum that you take. So is this really interesting? It's passive. I don't know. I don't really see that much a point here, but it's not the worst effect. At least it gives you some incentives to pick one legend after the other, right? Now this one is more interesting and a little bit of what I was talking about before. Nominous Gift. Gain boons when you use Cosmic Wisdom, depending on which legends you have equipped. Cool, right? There you go. So you press your F2, you get yourself a boon assigned, and you know, close to whatever your alliance, your legend is, right? So from Shiro you get might, for Malix you get resistance because you wanna not be damaged by conditions, right? Well, I guess non-damaging conditions, right? I'm not sure if I would give resistance to Malix, but I should. It's fine, I guess. Jala stability, that makes a lot of sense, right? And now you can use your F2 to give stability. That's very, very useful. But then again, it's only going for yourself, not your allies. So it's kind of like whatever, right? Protection for Ventari and Fury for Raza. Definitely a step in the right direction, just not that good, I don't think. I think it needs more than just this to make it worth it. Now let's go for the first traits here. Gain affinity when you use a weapon skill that costs energy. Now that is a very cool effect. Really changes up things, hey? Now you not only gain affinity when using your utility, but also your weapon. So you can go for a lot of affinity, a lot of just keeping these buffs there over and over again, just blasting them. Remember that you will indeed lose your affinity once you change legends, so this will make it you get that buff instantly, super fast, and might actually change the weapon that you actually want to go for, so you have lower cooldown, lower cast time, so you can get this very fast, right? Ethereal Purification, remove conditions from yourself when you reach maximum affinity and when you activate Cosmic Wisdom. There's some condition removal over there, makes sense, we've seen this before. And here we have Expanded Consciousness. Your maximum affinity is increased from 3 to 5. So this will make it so whenever you do indeed press your affinity button, boom, that Cosmic Wisdom, that F2 will just absolutely blast. It will give you a lot of duration for that whatever buff you actually pick. You know how we go here, guys. We love starting making these builds, right? But for now, I think we're gonna leave this with, you know, with nothing assigned. Because honestly, you could pick anything. You probably would pick this or this for more damage, and this for an healing build, or you know, some, you know, more versatile build for Warriors World or PvP or whatever. But I can't really tell whether this or this would be better for DPS, honestly. I would probably say this. You know what? Yeah, I would maybe say that this is better for like Warriors World and PvP, because if you have maximum affinity, you can just choose whenever you want to use your special effect, right, for a longer time. And this is just like, hey, you're permanently in a rotation, pressing the buttons over and over again. So it makes sense that you're gonna have a lot of value of this compared to this, right? So healing, maybe even some PvP here, right? Damage, and then PvP in some sort of way. Recurring Insight. When you swap legends, reduce the recharge of Cosmic Wisdom for each point of affinity you had before swapping. Very cool effect. Honestly, these traits are very interesting in the way that you make your Cosmic Wisdom work. You have so many different ways of making it work. This will make you want to use your Cosmic Wisdom before you leave your legend, and ideally have a lot of affinity ready so you can recharge that Cosmic Wisdom and do it again. I don't think the Cosmic Wisdom actually gets consumed once you use the F2. It doesn't seem to on the stream, so I do think this is a very powerful effect. Because you just want to get to the maximum, use your Cosmic Wisdom, instantly swap, boom, your Cosmic Wisdom will have a reduced recharge. You can start building that affinity up, and as whenever instantly you get into that that maximum affinity, you do it again. This actually makes me think, that this particular one is less useful because you don't really need that much affinity. We'll have to see how it plays out though in the beta to be able to tell. We might actually just want to go for this one instead every time. Next one is Lingering Determination. If you have at least the listed amount of affinity when swapping legends, you regain affinity afterwards. Heal yourself and gain endurance when gaining affinity. This will be used for you to use your Cosmic Wisdom more. It definitely seems like a healing based trait though, to give him more sustain, yeah, to give him a bit more sustain on a PvP build, for example. Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I do find it a little bit weird. I'm not sure if we're gonna be starving of affinity so much to be actually wanting to pick this for that reason. I think it's more because of the healing and the endurance. It's not like you're pressing your F2 at all times super fast, right? You still have some cooldown and you'll be able to get that affinity back, I think. But we'll have to see how it plays out. Next one, Boundless Knowledge. Unique benefits granted by Cosmic Wisdom have increased effects. This one obviously is gonna be the DPS one, right? You get more power on Assassin, you get more expertise and condition damage on Mesmer, you get yourself more of everything on Dervish, Monk more vitality, Warrior more toughness, just more attributes. It's a good effect. It may actually be used in some other things as well. Honestly, a pretty good trade, pretty flexible. I do feel like the one at the top is the one you are gonna want for PvP though, so you can be more flexible and have your Cosmic Wisdom at all times in any situation. And this one up for a bit more sustain, right? Or a little bit more healing for yourself. It doesn't seem like this spec has a lot of like healing overall for other people. It's mainly for yourself. So consider the blue as just more sustain for yourself, you know, healing, but for yourself, not to make an actual heal build. I don't think that's actually going to be possible here. And here we have the Grandmasters. Misfire. Apply conditions to enemies when you disable them. Damage and daze enemies around you when activating Cosmic Wisdom. Now that is fun. So this one makes you want to go for a Conduit stun build, right? Maybe going for a hammer so you can stun people more. A very cool concept. I wonder if you can actually make a celestial hybrid build here, where you do a little bit of everything, a little bit more power, a little bit of Conduit, just a mixture of everything. That would be very cool. Overall, yeah, I really like this trait. It's very fun, very interesting. It does change the way that you play the spec. It's nice. Twofold embodiment. Using Cosmic Wisdom also grants you the bonuses of your other equipped legend. So this makes it so you use one Cosmic Wisdom and you get both of the bonuses. You could see this maybe in a power build, I think. If you don't want to go for Conduit, you can probably take this and just get all the bonuses from... You probably go for this too, right? You go for Boundless Knowledge, right? Form of the Assassin plus Form of the Dervish. Boom, get yourself a lot of bonuses, a lot of damage with that. Could be very powerful. I could definitely see Mistfire being applied to the yellow trait right here that I put in here, because now, of course, you want to do more Cosmic Wisdom though, right? Because you'll daze people and do damage to them when you do it, so then you just pair up with this, right? So this with this, this with this. Yeah, that makes sense. And for the last one, Perpetual Wisdom. The effect of Cosmic Wisdom now lasts indefinitely, but they drain the energy continuously while it is active. When you swap legends, gain energy for each point of affinity you had before swapping. Now this makes it so it's an upkeep. You will lose some energy, but look at that, those bonuses will be keeping there forever. You obviously don't want to take this with the whole like, oh, you know, you grave yourself less cooldown on Cosmic Wisdom. It wouldn't really make a lot of sense, right? So it makes the entirety of the whole, hey, it's weird because it makes the entire spec kind of lose the point of the spec. Because before it was like, hey, you know, you use your utility to get affinity and get a longer duration. But now with this, you don't need to worry about duration because it's always there. Now, of course, with more affinity, the more energy you get once you change legends. So it could definitely be working and you want to have more affinity. It's not, I think it's an interesting, I do think it's an interesting trade. I think it's a good one. I think it changes the way that the spec works in an interesting, fun way, and you probably would pair with this too, right? Like honestly, I feel like you can really pick anything here depending on your playstyle. I'm sure there will be a perfect option here, a one that is better for everything. But yeah, now with this, you just have your bonus effect at all times regardless of anything, right? And depending on the weapon you use and how energy hungry it is, you might use it and you might not. It actually, I think these three specs, these three traits work well for Revenant because of how different the class becomes depending on the build you're playing, depending on the weapons you're playing. So overall, very good job with the Grandmaster traits. I'm not gonna lie, I think they're all very interesting in the way that they changed the way that the class works. And doesn't seem like you're forced to any of the traits either. It feels like there's a good amount of flexibility to make a build. I'm definitely gonna be making some builds before the patch comes out, before the beta is here, so you guys can be ready to try some new things. I'm definitely gonna be trying them myself. But overall, yeah, the traits are pretty good. I think they're pretty good design in here. That being said, in terms of power, I don't really see this as being very powerful. It just seems like a DPS spec with a special rotation, which is fine, but I don't know. Whenever I saw Gale Shot, I saw way more. Right, it was way more interesting. This one is just like, it's gonna be like core rev, but you have more attributes and maybe you have a little bit of a different gameplay to the way that you play the same build you were playing before. And I'm not sure if that's very interesting. There's nothing really here that I'm like, oh, this is so cool. It feels very lackluster in this regard. I think making some changes here is needed. Some things that you can get by using more utilities, so you use more utilities that use your weapons, something like that, right? Especially because the only abilities we have that are new here are the ones from your legend, are the ones from your utility. So yeah, give us more. I think, I don't know, man. I think Conduit, even though it has some interesting things to it, it might be more lackluster than Guardian, that Luminary is right now. And it's weird because I think the traits are absolutely greatly designed. I think I said this in my other video. I think it changes everything about how the spec works. It's just that the way that the spec works is not very fun. It's not very interesting. It's not very innovative. Innovative? You guys know what I mean. It just doesn't do anything. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe I'm being doomish. Maybe it's too much. I don't know. I'm curious though. Let me know. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Go to my Ko-Fi if you want to support my content. Go to my Twitch to watch me live every morning. See you guys around. Love you all. Ciao, ciao.